Alright guys, so in the last video we started to get into regular expressions. We looked at some of these meta character symbols like the caret to start with, the number sign to end with, the dot, the asterisk, and the optional question mark character. So now what I want to do is get into character sets using brackets. So we're going to go down here and let's say, I just want to format this nicely for you guys so you can have it as a reference. All of this code, I mean, this course has been pretty modular except for the projects. So, if you need to go back and look at something, I want to make it so that it's easy for you to reference and find what you need. So brackets are basically character sets. So let's look at this example that we did with the optional A and E in gray. So what we can do here is we can say re equals our expression, let's make it case insensitive, and we'll say gr, and let's just do gray. Now we know that we want this to be able to be an A or an E. Okay, so what we can do is we can use brackets here, and then anything we put in here like A and E means that whatever this character is has to be one of whatever is in here. Okay, so it can be an A or an E. All right, so what we're going to do is, actually, let me just put a comment here, and we'll say must be an A or E. Okay, so then let's get rid of this question mark here, and let's save that and see what we get. So we can see it works, it matches. If I were to put an E here, that matches. If I were to get rid of that and save, that gives us null. So this is a better solution than this. Even though we can use A or E here, in this case we could also put nothing. But when we use the character set, it has to be an A or an E. If I were to put let's say a W, that's not going to work. Okay, whoops, what is going on here? Okay, so it has to be an E or an A. All right, now let's see. Let's go ahead and push this down, and let's do a character set at the beginning. So what I'll do is let's put right here some brackets, and then let's say this has to be a G or an F, and this can be case sensitive if we get rid of that. So and let's change this to an A. And let's save that and run it. So basically this has to be either a G, an uppercase G, or an uppercase F. So we'll say must be a G or F. So that works. Let's change it to fray, uppercase. That works. Let's change it to X-ray, uppercase. Doesn't work because it's not a G or an F. If we do a lowercase g, doesn't work, but again, if we add the case insensitive flag, that will work. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Now another thing we can do here, let's bring this down. We could put a caret symbol inside of the brackets here. All right, so if we were to do that, what this means is that it'll match anything except a G or F. Okay, so it's basically the opposite of this. So if I were to say gray, didn't matter if this was lowercase or uppercase, but if we save that, we're going to get null because it is a G or an F. If I were to do an F, we'll also get null, not a match. If I were to do an X, it's going to pass because this tells it that it can be anything except this. Now don't get confused by this meaning it has to start with G and F. If that were the case, then we would put it on this side. All right, so if I were to move that over here outside of the brackets, that just means that it has to begin with a G or an F, and you'll see that passes. So don't get that confused. If it's inside, that means basically not. So not a G or an F. All right, now let's say that we wanted it to be any uppercase letter. So I'm going to remove the case insensitive flag, and in here we can do a range. So we could do A, uppercase A, dash Z. All right, so this can match any, we'll say any uppercase letter, and we'll save, and X-ray matches. Okay, gray matches, fray matches. If I do a lowercase, that's not going to match, okay, because these are uppercase and there's no case insensitive flag. If we wanted to do lowercase, we could do lowercase a to lowercase c, and this will match any lowercase letter. So if I save that, fray will pass. If I put in lowercase x-ray, that will pass as well. Now if you want it to be any letter at all, whether it's uppercase or lowercase, what you could do is you could say capital A to capital Z, and then leave the lowercase a to lowercase c. So this will match any letter of any case. So if we go ahead and save, that matches. If I change this to an uppercase x-ray, that also matches. Now we can also do number ranges. So if I were to do RE dash, and in here let's say 0 through 9, and then, I don't know, ray, which doesn't really make much sense, but it's just an example. So this will match any digit. So if I were to say x-ray, that's not going to work. If I were to say 1 ray, that'll work. Okay, so anything between 0 and 9. We can make this 0 to 3 if we want, and if I were to put a 4, that's not going to work. So you can put whatever range you want, but 0 to 9 will be all digits. Okay, if I were to do 10, that also works, because what it's doing is it's looking at from here over. Okay, now we could put 0 through 9 and then 0 through 9 again and save, and look at the match now. Now it's 1 0 ray. Okay, and I didn't mention this, but you can do, you know, as many expressions as you want. Okay, so this would be one letter, and we could do another A to Z and so on. But that's kind of that's a long way of doing it. There's an easier way, and that's using quantifiers, which are used by using curly braces. All right, so let's say braces, and let's see braces, and these are quantifiers. So let's go back to our hello expression. So we'll say HELLO, and we'll say re equals, let's put our case insensitive flag, and let's do HELLO and save, and of course that matches. Now let's say that we wanted right here to specify 2 L's. So what we could do is put in our quantifier using curly braces and then the number 2 and then L. Okay, so it's going to look at the character after it. So let's go ahead and save that. I'm sorry, it's the character before it. So L should actually go before it. And save, and that matches because there's 2 L's. Now if I were to put an extra L, make it 3 and save, that doesn't match. If I were to put 1 L and save, that doesn't match. It has to be exactly 2 in this case. All right, so let's put a comment here, and let's say must occur exactly m just is just a variable amount of times. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring this down. And now we can also do ranges. So let's say we want 2, 4. So what this means is that we can have 2 to 4 L's. So if I go ahead and run this with 3 L's, that works. If I do an extra L, that's 4, that works. If I do an extra, which is 5, does not work. Okay, if I do 1, does not work. So this means that it has to be between this amount and this amount. All right, and then another thing we can do using quantifiers is we can do just 2, comma. And what this means is it must occur at least at least m times. Okay, so at least 2 times. So if I go HELLO, that will of course work. If I do, 10 of them, that also works. If I do 1, that doesn't work because it has to be at least 2 L's. Okay, so those are quantifiers. And then the last thing I want to show you is parentheses. Let's see, parentheses. And these are used for grouping. So for instance, if I were to say re equals, and in here, let's say we wanted, and you can use these with quantifiers. That's one of the main reasons to use these. Let's say that I wanted a number between 0 and 9 followed by x, and I wanted that 3 times. Okay, now doing it this way, this 3 is only looking at this x right here, so it's going to look at a number and then x 3 times, but I want a number x, number x, number x 3 times. So that for that to happen, I would group these together with parentheses. So now if I go down here and I say 3x, 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 and save, that's going to match. Now if I do another 3x, that's also going to work because it's just looking at the first 3. If I wanted to, I could put a money sign up here to make sure that it ends after after 3 x's. So now if I save, that works, but if I add another 3x, actually that worked too. Let's see. Oh, because now it's just looking at the end. So we'll have to do beginning. So we'll put a caret here and save that, and that does not work. So now it has to be exactly 3x 3 times. Okay. So you'll use the caret and the money sign quite a bit when you're using regular expressions. All right, now there's a whole nother part of regular expressions that I want to go over real quick, and that's shorthand character classes. If we want to search for a letter, or a word character or a digit or a white space character, we can do that with these shorthand character classes. So that's what we're going to look into next.